Now, which popular game traditionally ends with all the players being thrown into a lake of fiery sulphur?
Well, I hope it's show jumping. I hate show jumping. Oh, God. I'd have one of those after every jump.
Before and after every jump.
It's not show jumping, though. It would certainly liven it up.
It sounds biblical.
I don't think it's the humans, though, it's pieces. Isn't it? Be pieces?
Well, I'll tell you that it's a game that went dramatically out of fashion in 1972. Early 72, it was more popular than Monopoly. But by the end of 72, it had almost completely gone out of fashion because of a film.
Mousetrap. Mousetrap.
No, there is no film of
Because
Mousetrap.
of a film. Is it Drafts? Remember that film? Drafts.
The film's true.
The truth about drafts.
No.
Drafts makes you go bald. Don't play drafts.
The film is not a game. There's a game in it.
There's a game in
this game is played in it, and it's scary.
Oh, is it a séance?
Yeah,
Ouija
it is a
boards.
séance using a Ouija board.
OK.
Right.
And what film has there a Ouija board?
The
The Exorcist is the right answer. One of the truly great films of the 20th century.
Is a Ouija board really a game? I don't remember ever seeing Ouija board scenes in a film and at the end going, right, who won? I'm here, not dead.
Well, the odd thing about Ouija, it was a board, it still belongs to Parker Brothers.
It's out.
Yeah, Ouija is a proprietary name, it's a trademark.
Is
Ouija.
it we-ya?
Interesting point. That is some people's theory of the name of it is, yes, two words for yes, we, the French, and ya, the German, but no one's quite sure about where the name came from, except that it's a game that was invented. The board was invented and it was sold and people played it. I mean, it's weird to say that, but they enjoyed the fact that it nearly always works in as much as, you know, people spell out words and they don't quite know how they're doing it. It's clearly not dead people.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was not originally supposed to be dead people. It was supposed to be that you contacted yourselves, a part of yourselves that automatically wrote. It was not about seances.
Dead people just joined in.
Yeah.
This is good. This is the one for us.
Even when recently asked, only a third of the people who still use Ouija boards say they do it to contact dead people. And in the First World War, it was used to contact your troops abroad, supposedly.
So, hold on. Are some dead people trying to communicate with the living through Monopoly?
Yeah. There was a court case in the 90s, I'm sorry to say, in Britain, a murder case, quite an important one, and the jury had to be dismissed because in their hotel overnight they used a Ouija board to try and contact the murdered person. And apparently the murdered person said, the guy in the dock is guilty, convict him. And said, but the judge heard about it and dismissed the jury, quite rightly, you may say. But the awful thing was, if they'd done it in the jury room, the judge couldn't have dismissed them. Because the judge has no right in law to know what goes on in a jury room. The deliberations must be private.
Unless he's dead.
Yeah, that's really complicated.
Was the guy guilty?
Unfortunately, he was retried and found guilty, which sort of is really irritating. So maybe the ghost of the murdered person did.
Where's the competitive element?
Suppose you just have a go.
Yeah.
Who are you trying to contact? Right, it's your turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you contact two dead people and then they box.
And then they tell you how it went.
Ghost boxing. Ghost boxing. Like Sky Sports do. Live ghost boxing from Auntie Vera's parlour.
That's it, people in sheets.
Yeah. The headless man, he's already down.
It's just going like that. It's kind of punchy.
Do you know there's an Elvis...
Yeah. There we go. Go on. Hit me. Hit me.
There's an Elvis seance website.
Of course there is. I bet there's more than one of those.
Where you contact Elvis.
Online?
But it cautions, if you wish to repeat this experiment, please be considerate. Many people may wish to contact Elvis, and we're sure he's quite busy. Please treat this information...
For eternity.
Yes, please treat this information the same as you would if he were alive and you had his email address, with respect. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? A sort of posthumous Twitter and things like that. That would be hell, I have to say.
You just thought of that?
Yeah.
Urine it up to your neck.
Oh, God. Horrifying. But the reference in the Bible to the fiery lake or whatever is from Revelations, where it does say those who practice the magic arts will be cast into burning sulphur. So
How about balloon animals?
the punishment for people who do balloon animals is not specified in Revelation.
Giraffe.
I think it's loneliness, the punishment for them.
Yeah.
Long nights, sitting alone.
So, yeah, in my youth, games which conjured up the spirits of the dead were a popular gift for children. It's a weird thought. If they didn't like it, they could go to hell. When did slavery become a criminal offence in England? It
I
was
bet
not
it
in
was
the
one
19th
of these
century.
odd little new labour laws in about 1996, 7, 8.
What an odd law to outlaw slavery. Is political correctness gone mad?
I only mean odd in the sense that it's a bit late.
Yes, that's exactly right. It was 1807 when the slave
1807
trade
was
was
the first
ended, and then finally in 1834 it was illegal anywhere in the British Empire to own a slave. It has never been illegal to have a slave in England until April 2010. I'm saying I could have had you as a slave
You mean
legally.
You mean this series I'm finally free?
Yes.
But you know what? I'm one of those slaves who just goes back to the master. I don't know what to do.
Absolutely.
I work for you anyway, please.
One thing is that there are now estimated to be 27 million people held in, essentially in bondage, in slavery on this planet.
But the show will be over soon.
More,
You can go.
Right now?
more than there ever were in the days of cotton picking and so on.
27 million?
27 million.
In the
yeah.
world?
Yeah, that is the estimate. It's pretty grim problem still, slavery. The point is, it was never illegal in England because it was never recognised as a state of being.
Oh, there's all
There was
kinds
no
of...
such-
I
you
wish
know,
I'd known that.
there were laws against kidnapping and abduction and false imprisonment and sexual trafficking and all the other things that we might associate with slavery. But it was not illegal for one human to own another human, which it now is.
So this is a law that... This isn't one of those laws where they thought, oh, that needs clearing up. It's a loose end from history.
It kind of was. In 1967, there were a number of obsolete crimes that were taken care of. Barratry had been illegal right up to 1967, which is vexatious lawsuits.
Oh,
Barratry.
Building of
Vexatious.
Yeah, what they call a vexatious litigant, somebody who just keeps...
Dorothy Squires.
Yes.
Dorothy Squires, the singer Dorothy Squires, towards the end of her life, when she did have a mania, but she was probably the last person to be done for vexatious litigants.
And if you kept prosecuting someone for it, you'd be prosecuting them.
Yourself?
Yeah, well, it's crazy. Anyway, there's scolding. Scolding was a crime in 1966, but not in 1967.
With hot water, you mean?
No, not scalding. Scalding. Scolding!
That was a crime.
You! What time of the night do you call this, Eddie Izzard?
12.
Yes.
30 or something.
Well, they give you a good scolding.
And that was illegal?
That was illegal.
Illegal?
Yeah.
And that was legal?
Eavesdropping was illegal. Challenging someone to a fight was also illegal until 1967.
What about going round and round and roundabout more than 3 times?
It certainly wouldn't have been a medieval law, would it?
Well, I don't know. And if you're in a horse and cart, you have a couple of hours spare.
On a medieval roundabout.
On a medieval roundabout.
Yes. Anyway, there you are. Due to a quirk of English law, it only became a criminal offence to keep a slave in the year 2010. So why are so many great men short?
Are they really?
David, you've hit the nail on the head. Rem acu tetigisti, as they would say in Latin.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
It means nice one, son.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. In fact, Napoleon, people
Napoleon was short, wasn't he?
think... No, he was above average height.
Everyone was short in those days.
Wasn't he?
Well, yeah,
he was 5'6", which was taller than
He
it
was
is
5'7",
now.
actually.
Oh, right, yeah.
Average height was about 5'6"-ish.
So it's just the British who decided he was short, put him down a bit.
Yes, it was particularly a cartoonist called Gilray. When we were at war with Napoleon, there was a famous one of George III with a little Napoleon based on Gulliver's Travels, like that. And he's actually saying, I cannot but conclude you to be one of the most pernicious little odious reptiles that nature ever suffered to crawl upon the surface of the earth. There. That's
It's snappy.
It's a
isn't
snappy one. He was 3 inches taller than Nelson, for example. Nelson was 3 inches shorter than Napoleon. It's certainly true that...
Nelson was 5'4".
Yeah.
Like Danny DeVito.
He was very, short chap.
No wonder they put him on such a big
So
column.
is that kind of...
Yes, he's tall in Trafalgar Square.
Is that short man syndrome a kind of retrospective thing, then, that we've kind of... invented more recently and then just gone back and said they're all short?
Yeah, some of them were short, though. There's no question. I mean, Stalin was surprisingly short. He was only 5'5". Mussolini was 5'6". Franco was 5'4".
5'4"?
Yeah.
They are all short, Steve.
Well, no, he hit the 5'8". Idi Amin was 6'4".
Yeah, big
That's
fella.
my height. Fidel Castro, 6'1". Mao was 5'9", which is rather tall for a Chinese person. So...
But mostly they're not judged on their height, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. But all I'm...
We'll let that go.
Yeah. All I'm saying, you know, seems to be historically no evidence that short people are more power-hungry, more tyrannical than people of average or tall stature.
Because you know why it came about, though, because it's just that one... It's probably the one thing that short people have got to cling on to. One day they might be a dictator. Well, and we've just taken that away from them.
All this,
One little hope.
all this not being able to reach things from shelves, one day will be made up for when I kill millions of people. And I can stand on their bodies.
Yeah.
Reach the jam.
Everybody knows somebody short in their life who's been particularly angry and abused his position of authority. And then you decide he's a bit like Hitler.
That's the point.
he
You
wasn't
notice
quite
when
like
a short
Hitler.
man has a tantrum
Yeah.
and says, oh, short man, Napoleon complex. Even
Tall
though-
man has a tantrum, you just leg it.
Exactly. I have to say, I'm rather shocked by this. Heightism does exist. Short people are paid less on average than tall people. The disparity is comparable in magnitude to race and gender. A survey of Fortune 500
They
companies...
should rise up.
Yeah. Hey. The chief executive officers of Fortune 500 companies, 90% are above average height, which is astounding, really. And 30% of those are over 6'2". They're the tallest 4%.
Every now and again, a little short fella breaks through.
Yeah. Oh, stop.
Escapes, gets away.
Yeah, yeah. But it is...
Me!
It is rather shocking that there is this disparity. And, of course, we always notice the powerful, short,
first
rich man
attracts
with a
you to
young,
the
tall wife is...
Billionaire Bernie
She's
Ecclestone.
actually... I've seen her with him. She's actually much taller than that, above him.
Yeah,
But
she's
Ecclestone-
bending her knee there.
Yeah. I mean, he has to jump up to slap her on the bum. He can run through her legs.
And who's the couple on the left?
That's Carla Bruni and
Sarkozy.
Sarkozy.
But at least the women have both got handbags that their husbands can fit in, which
No, there isn't really any evidence that dictators are shorter than the rest of us, the Napoleon complex.
Now, Alan, why will you never eat my noodles?
It was bound to happen that this show would just become about you two.
just haven't agreed on a fee, have you?
Do you remember we're involving people from countries beginning with K,
Kenya,
well, which have a particular association perhaps with noodles?
Kent.
Kent. Famous for the Kentish pasta. No, go east. Korea. Thank you, Josh. In Korea, noodles, of course, are very popular.
Of course.
And when will I eat your noodles means when are you getting married? In other words, when are you going to be throwing a party in which you will serve noodles? So it's just a Korean phrase. It's like saying, when are you going to tie the knot? When am I going to eat your noodles? Well, you're already married, so I'm not going to eat your noodles, and you didn't invite me
I
to
did
your
invite you.
wedding. Oh, you
didn't
did?
come.
No, I could... That's right. I was abroad. I was abroad.
Yeah, you know what you were doing? You were filming an episode of Bone.
Yes, I was.
I've never been so insulted in my life.
I'm so sorry. I'm so... Oh, God, how embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's what it means. Here are some other Korean phrases, though. The other man's rice cake always looks bigger. What would be the British equivalent of that?
Oh, the grass is always greener.
Or as my uncle used to say, the other man's arse is always cleaner. If there are too many ferrymen on a boat, it will sail up a mountain.
Is that just literal?
Probably, but maybe.
If they say that in North Korea, the boat is going up the mountain.
That's true. There is
Too many cooks spoil the broth.
too many cooks spoil the broth.
Stephen, tell me about your childhood.
OK, here's one. He worked as if he were tending the grave of his wife's uncle.
That's brilliant.
What would that mean?
I might start using that.
Not much.
Yes is the answer, because in Korea, it is your duty to tend the graves of your family. But the more distant the family, the less attention you give the grave. So all he was doing was just basically sprinkling a little bit of water on the... It's only his wife's uncle. Whereas his grandfather, his father, or his mother, he'd be putting flowers and being with great attention. So that's what that means.
like shagging the dog.
Not really. Not really, Catherine. Is there something you want to share with us? Like shagging the dog?
Yeah, like if you don't work very hard, you're just shagging the dog.
Not in this country, madam. In this country, when we shag a dog, we know what we're doing. And it's pretty hard work, let me tell you.
Not as easy as it looks, I tell you that.
So in Canada, you have the phrase shagging the dog.
Yeah. Or like shagging the sheep if you want, or whatever.
That's not fine. Again, perfectly common practice over here, but not considered a light or unburdensome task.
It just means like having an easy day.
There's a lot I have to learn about Canada.
It's easy because with like a lady, you have to take her out to dinner or woo her a bit. But with the dog, it's just like, here, boy, come on.
You say that. You say that.
Yeah, once he's here, most of the work is still to be done in that situation.
Yes. I'm thinking, let's move on. So, showing off your wrinkles to a silkworm?
You have found a silkworm in your underpants.
Silkworms are pretty wrinkly. So if you show your wrinkles to a silkworm, he's going to go, nah, I can do better than that. So it's like teaching your grandmother to suck eggs.
Oh,
that's
imagine how wrinkly a silkworm's knackers are.
Exactly. And finally, he disappeared like a fart through hemp pyjamas.
I think that one speaks for itself.
It's a Korean phrase. Awkwardly, basically. Embarrassingly, awkwardly, not with maximum grip.
And there are lots of words called orphaned negatives. So these are words that have the opposites, but nobody uses them. They're now obsolete. So what would be the opposite of ineffable?
Effable.
Effable, but nobody ever uses as a perfectly good word, isn't it?
I've heard people say that.
Effable's not effable?
Oh, he's got nice trousers on today. He's totally effable.
Yeah, well, funny, and thank you. I really appreciate it. They're very roomy.
No, there are lots of good ones. Incessant. So cessant. Nobody talks about cessant anymore. Well, this is the weird thing about this word, OK? What it tells you in the dictionary is that cessant hasn't been used since 1701. What happened that year? They thought, you know, I'm done with that word.
For you, what about disdain?
Oh, yes,
Because
the opposite of being a good Dane. Yes,
Yeah.
a disdain.
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 Yeah. Innocent? Anybody?
Yesn't.
Innocent.
Innocent. So innocent, yeah, innocent was a criminal.
Innocent.
Until about the 17th century, so nocentum, Latin meaning to harm.
Is nonchalant?
So chalant.
Chalant.
Yes. I'm going to refer to you as chalant. I like that. I think that sounds rather good.
What chalant?
Yeah, chalant and effable.
Stopping you.
To be fair, Jimmy, I had to have it pointed out to me. Inflammable?
Oh, I hate... Inflammable and flammable.
Same thing.
It is exactly the same thing. It's not an orphan negative at all. In fact, the opposite of flammable is non-flammable.
Explosive.
I beg your pardon?
Just reading.
Oh, explosive. It used to be inflammable because it comes from the Latin inflammare, but they adopted flammable deliberately in the 20th century because, honestly, inflammable seemed ambiguous. So that is one of the reasons why we now say flammable and then non-flammable.
Right.
Anybody know what a contronym is?
Oh, so it's like got synonym?
Yeah.
Antonym.
Antonym,
Antonyms, yes. So it's a word that is also its own opposite. So screen, which means to show, like screen a film, and screen also means to hide. Another example, bound. So fastened to the spot and also heading somewhere.
Oh, that's good.
They're good, aren't they? Consonants. So you like this? Fast, so moving quickly, and stuck and unable to move. It's the.
And also, I always thought with fast food, the fast is not to eat, and then also to eat loads really cheaply.
Yeah, there you go.
I think we may need marijuana for this. Yeah. It feels to me like there should be a conversation that happens at like, yeah, man, fast.
Yeah.
But no, man, fast food.
I love that your impression of someone on drugs means you've never taken them.
Antigrams. Anybody know what an antigram is?
It is the opposite of a gram.
So these are words where if you do an anagram, the anagram itself has the opposite meaning to the original word. So
Impossible.
Yeah, dormitories, tidier rooms is one. There's one. Customers, I like this one. The anagram is store scum.
Oh, there's a few people out there working retail.
Here's another one, an antigram. A volunteer fireman. I never run to a flame. And 45 is an anagram of over 50. It's just a woman lying, basically. Let's try a parlour game to get us started. One Victorian parlour game was called Taboo. You were asked a question and had to answer without using a taboo letter of the alphabet. Our taboo letter tonight is obviously N, so please answer the following questions without using the letter N. Matt, name a tasty yellow fruit grown mostly in the Caribbean and Central America. In the Philippines, its name has been corrupted to bayabas.
Is it, a ba'a? I'm trying to think what's nice and yellow. Crisps. I'm going for crisps.
It's a tasty yellow fruit.
Yeah.
So, no, the answer is guava.
Oh.
Is the answer we were
Oh, there is an
looking for.
answer.
There is an answer.
I've been playing this game wrong for years.
It isn't banana at all. The answer is guava, is the fruit that we were looking for. In the Philippines, it has been corrupted to bayabas. Do you know what the Filipinos call bananas?
No.
They call them bananas. I could have got you with that one, had you fallen for it. Susan, what do you call a woman who looked after Victorian children whose mothers were social equals but couldn't be asked to do the job themselves?
Well, I would call them the help.
Which is nice, but not the correct term.
Well, then I would call them... You've got such a gaze, Sandy. It's like the Eye of Sauron.
Sorry, but Sauron's got an N in it.
Oh, I would have said the nanny or a governess. Yes. Yes. I was essentially cajoled into that.
You were. So, not nanny, obviously, because how many N's have we got there, Susan?
At least two.
At least two. Also, not social equal, the nanny. It's au pair.
Oh, no, I almost...
Yeah, au pair, been around.
Josh,
so annoying,
don't
isn't it?
start with your own. Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue there.
It's been around since the 1840s, the word au pair. Well, it literally means social equal, au pair.
Does it?
Yeah.
Have you met our social equal? She's really, really fit.
He's only run off with the social equal.
So, nobody's doing very well, but I'm relying on Josh to get this one right.
Watch and learn.
OK, here we go. What do you call a Roman Catholic religious woman who has taken simple vows of poverty, chastity and obedience?
Is it the au pair?
That was guava.
Oh, it's difficult, isn't it, now?
Yeah.
Yeah, not so quick with the answers now.
Tracy? Go on, then. None.
None.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The answer is a sister. So a nun has taken solemn vows, but a sister has taken simple vows. It's a technical difference to do with the repudiation of property. So a nun's solemn vow repudiates property absolutely. A sister's simple vow allows her to reserve an interest. Hedging her bets, Josh. Hedging her bets, that one. Right, Alan.
Yes.
Name any of the digits in the common emergency telephone number. So there's an emergency number which is...
999.
999.
They're great guys. They're great guys.
But the common emergency telephone number is 112.
Is it?
Yeah, so you can use it on a mobile phone, even if it's locked or you haven't got a SIM card.
It has got ends in 112.
Well, I asked you to name any of the digits in the common emergency number. And so you could have said 2.
Oh, my word.
2.
Well, it's Christmas, so Alan wins that one. There we go.
What were chainsaws originally invented for? Proctology. Wow. That's scary.
Yeah, that's a...
Slicing an arse in half.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you were in the right area, I have to say.
What,
I mean,
really?
well,
Circumcision.
Well, what I mean is, you began straight away with medicine. You didn't say trees or, you know, cutting down
cutting
you know,
off legs.
buildings.
Like bones and...
Bones is the right answer. Yes, in particular, it was a rather unpleasant procedure.
Oh, don't. It'll be a boy thing against a girl thing. It
Well,
will
not
be.
against, you know.
Well, no,
It's doctors trying to help.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. It'll be a boy thinking a woman's taking far too long over labour, going, oh, I can't stand all that panting. I know, we'll get a chainsaw, just cut that baby out. That's what it is.
But you know, you're absolutely right. It was in 1783.
That's no excuse.
It was two Scots doctors called John Aitken and James Jaffrey, and it was called a symphysiotomy, and it was a procedure to widen the pelvis if the baby's head was too large to pass through.
Oh, can you hear the high tone of all those sighs?
What I like about this picture...
It's a bit eye-watering.
It's a ladies' ward, so, of course, there is some baking going on
Yes.
on the left. Cake display cakes.
And I tell you
Or
what,
buns in the oven, Stephen. You see what I did?
Buns in the oven.
they didn't really, darling.
I'm afraid they did. When I say chainsaw, it was literally a chain. It was like a watch chain, in fact. Right. It was like an up and down.
lumberjack giving it... It's a boy!
They hadn't yet invented the internal combustion engine.
And caesarean sections.
Caesarean sections have replaced the same idea. That yes, quite, exactly. It's a bit of a relief.
The caesarean section, I think. Sawing the pelvic bone in half is not as easy as maybe just a small incision. And...
But I know you'd have thought they would have
Pop
made
it out the sunroof.
But this was before it was before antiseptic surgery, and of course it was before any kind of anaesthetic.
They're not a meeting. You know what I mean? There's not a meeting where someone goes, I've got it. And they go, what? They go, chainsaw, innit?
Well, they looked at a watch chain and they said, you know, if we could sort of ease away the bone like that, rather than using a saw. I know, everyone's wincing.
Have we got another question that isn't about that?
Would it heal? Presumably not very well.
Well, they then went on to use the same thing. For example, if someone had a bit of diseased bone, they would do the same thing. They would sort of tick it in, they'd go up and down like that, and then they'd do it lower down, and the two bits would fuse together and have a stiff arm. But it would get rid of the diseased bone. It was called an osteotome. It eventually became like a chainsaw. You can see one here. That is more like a chainsaw. Pretty unpleasant.
You don't want that coming at you.
You really don't. You really, really don't.
I remember my wife had a baby, I remember it well. And, yeah, it's a good day. It was a grand day. It was a grand day. But when she had a baby, and there's a point where you go in to see the fella who's going to sort it out on the day. That's him, yeah. He's got an official title. And you go in to see him, and as the husband, he says, right, you sit there on a chair, and then he pulls the curtain across. Yes. While him and your wife are in this thing, while he has a little dabble or whatever he's doing.
It's a bit intimate, isn't it?
It's a bit like you go, I've seen it, mate. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing... This is why we're here.
Well, you don't look when that happens, though, do you, at the moment of conception? Do you actually have a look? You're looking into it. Surely. Sorry.
Stephen doesn't need to know, Jason. He doesn't need to know.
You're gazing lovingly into her eyes.
Gazing lovingly at the Born Identity, which is still on the television. As you reach for your drink.
What do you think, darling? that he's got a periscope at the moment.
I'm sorry.
I don't know why you and I are having this conversation.
After the invention of the internal combustion engine, where we were getting Jeremy to his home territory now, eventually by 1920 they were small enough to be able to have a hand-powered
Cut down trees.
And then they cut down trees,
Yes.
exactly. Well, anyway, there you are. Chainsaws were originally invented for midwives.